in the Gospel of Matthew, which is found in the second section of the Bible, commonly called the New Testament. Our reading today can be found on page 4 in the Pew Bible, and you can also access the reading via your tablet or smartphone via our guest internet access. From Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 20. You are the salt of the earth. But if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hidden. No one, after lighting a lamp, puts it under the bushel basket, but on the lampstand. And it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not one letter, not one stroke of a letter will pass from the law until all is accomplished. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of the commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Blessings on this reading of Holy Scripture this morning. Believe it or not, I still get nervous speaking in front of you all. I'm even more nervous now that anyone in this room with a smartphone or a tablet can access the internet freely to confirm or find the incorrect fact that I've just shared with you. I always try my best to confirm from a multitude of sources any information that I think is necessary to share with you at this moment. But there might always be that one time where I used a wrong source. And you can call me out on it simply by tapping your phone away. Because nothing will either expose your argument's speech or your speech's weaknesses than to have that astute fact checker that searches the World Wide Web. And frankly, some people make it rather embarrassing to even state your opinion in public, let alone to share the story of your faith or have any kind of conversation about faith in public. Ask our youth leader, Richard, about conversing about faith on a bus in Decatur, Illinois. And I always dread this question that is always asked shortly after an introduction, shortly after they find out who I am and where I live and that kind of thing. And what do you do for a living? I might mumble it, I'm a pastor. I'm a minister of a church in Decatur, Illinois, and as soon as I say it, I know I'm going to get two responses automatically. Either the last record of church attendance by them, I attended in August of 1984. Or the latest excuse, or may I say justification, for non-attendance. Sadly, often the excuse or the justification for meager or non-attendance is rather simple. I just don't see Jesus there, so I left the church. Or I haven't met real followers of Jesus, so I'm out on my own here, which, of course, they already consider themselves to be true and real followers of Jesus without being here or wherever they are claiming to still have that golden word, membership. And they are right to question at times whether they see Jesus or not, because often the loudest Jesus followers in any group rarely shows greater devotion than beyond declaring how much they love Jesus with their words. Or those tacky Facebook memes with the picture that says, share this picture or go to hell, your choice. Really? I don't find this in Scripture. Or it's just enough actions to look good and to feel good about the one thing that is still most important in their lives, themselves. And frankly, some of the claimed Jesus followers spread enough salt on this earth to leave a rather bad taste in the mouths of others and to bask in enough light of their own greatness that you can see fully, clearly well the darkness of their own self-righteousness. Because after all, too much salt will kill life. And too much light will make you blind. You just need a little salt and a little light for what is needed. We are continuing today on Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Matthew has 3 chapters devoted to this teaching that Jesus is giving to his disciples and to the crowds who are now following Jesus thanks to his healing miracles. Last week we saw that the crowds and the disciples were given God's favor in the most unusual of circumstances. God's favor is with you when you are humble. God's favor is with you when you feel cursed. God's favor is with you when you bid in peace. God's favor is with you when you're in mourning. God's favor is with you when you show mercy. God's favor is when you seek justice just as much as you do for food and drink. It's these people who God favors as the privileged citizens of heaven. And it is this group, rather than the, shall I call it, the Jerusalem religious industrial complex of Jesus' day, that is close to living as God desires all of them to live. Because God has given you this favored status, not to the worldly favorable, but to the dispossessed of the world, the misfits and the undesirables that more often than not Jerusalem religious industrial complexes throw out of their membership. Those deplored by others are accepted by God. Not by merit nor any kind of form of good behavior or religious practice, but rather because God gives freely to all and calls all to share God's blessings as salt adds flavor and as light combats darkness. Because salt has the power to enrich a good meal. Salt has the power to preserve the perishable, and salt has the power to transform the impure. Salt does it by its own qualities and quantities. Light has that power to make a room bright and to show the safe path. And anyone with children knows that a light always helps you down a toy-ridden hallway. And to the disciples and to the crowd of religious outsiders that are there on the mount with him, Jesus declares them as salt and as light of the world and for the world, to freely share what God has already declared them to be. You are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. It's not you will be, you might be, you are. Because salt can never be mistaken for sugar, can it? Or cinnamon or any other spice. What it will be is what it will do and can do, and it is added in a sufficient amount to enhance whatever is already present. Light can never be mistaken for darkness, and we would not keep it covered, or if we needed to find our way in darkness, oh no, I don't want to see the light. It doesn't care. Light doesn't care. None of these switches care about how good we've been this week. It can only produce light, because that's what light does. It produces light in its fullness to everyone. It's not brighter on some people and darker on others. Because in truth, the light of a single candle, a small single candle, can be seen from 1.6 miles away. As human beings, we are drawn to light. And light can be seen as far away as nearly 2 miles. God's people are not to fill the world with as much salt as possible, nor douse the world with blazing glory of light, but they are to make life and living in the world a little better for being here, and to cast that light into the darkness to bring glory not to themselves, but rather to God in heaven. Shouting vitriol through bullhorns with scripture quotes is clearly not sharing God's plan. Always seeking the light to shine on your face and to spotlight how good and loving you are may win you favors with that Jerusalem religious industrial complex, or be a beloved saint in a club called Christianity. But it is only when we help to enhance the lives of others daily and to shine our light as God has already shined it for us, to find the others, to draw the others, to bring the others to embrace God, is when others will see, without us having to tell them, the good works we're already doing in the world. Because a salt that doesn't enhance anything will be trampled over. And a light that is covered up will never be seen. But for many, the way you enhance life's flavor will be the way they encounter God. The way you share light in the dark places of other souls will be how another may find their way back or a way to God. Too much of either salt or light will leave a bad taste or will blind the path forward. Jesus is reminding us as salt and light that we are given a gift. But often we give the gift, we receive the gift, we thank the Lord for the gift, and then we say we deserved it and we don't need to share it with anyone else. The gift of God's unmerited, undeserved grace has been given for all and to all. We're not called to bottle it up, to store it, to hide it. It will fulfill nothing in a bottle, and it will accomplish nothing if we store it without it being distributed. Not in large, overwhelming amounts, but those simple, small quantities that enhance and expose. more people will encounter Jesus through encountering you on your daily journey, spreading a little salt and a little light of faith, than you accepted and now lives within you. They won't come to me. They will encounter you. For the fulfillment that Jesus brings is not of debt satisfaction nor amended teachings, but rather teachings that are lived, breathing, and seen in this day and in this space. The only living version of Jesus they'll see is what Jesus we show. It is seen as you pass by or not. It's seen in how you respond to life and its circumstances or not. Because you are the salt. And you are the light. You don't become salt. You don't become light. You can only do what you already are. And does your faith enhance the lives of others? Or does it guide the lost and bring safety into the dark places of the world? Or does it leave the bad taste of religion and found to be tasteless? Or is it covered up for fear of public exposure? Because we have the power to enhance and to brighten the world. That is what we are called to do. Or the power to be no longer good for anything and to be thrown out and trampled under the world's feet. Many have already done that. We have the ability to be seen for miles around or to be hidden for fear of being even seen. Maybe you will never have to give a public speech about following Jesus in your life. That's what you pay me the big bucks to try to do, right? But often in your life, it will be a public testimony of when you enhance the lives of others and brighten the spirits of those along the journey. God has called us all, whether with talents or not, whether with gifts or not. The gift has been given that we are salt and we are light. We are to share it in small portions, that it may be seen and that it may be tasted as your gift